You know, when I first started keeping a sketchbook, it was basically a book to sketch in, and every page kind of looked the same. There'd be a drawing floating in the middle of the page like that. Sometimes it would have a box around it with some doodles in the corner, and then you'd get this sort of thing with lots of higgledy-piggledy drawings all over the page, not really thought about. But basically, I wasn't trying to make art. I was just practicing drawing. I'd given myself this homework assignment. I just drew all kinds of stuff. But after I'd been doing it for a few months, something major happened. I evolved from just practicing to basically making something completely different, something completely new. My sketchbook was no longer just a place to do exercises and homework, and it became this incredibly exciting form of art in and of itself. And I want to show you how that came about. So here's a sketchbook that I had in high school. And, you go through the pages and it's just this sort of a thing, this drawing is kind of floating in space. And, I wasn't thinking about it as a book. There aren't any arrangements, there's no composition. It was just pick up a pen and draw and doodle some stuff. Eventually, I got burnt out. I was bored and I wasn't getting amazingly great at drawing. So when I got to college, I just stopped and I didn't draw again basically for 20 years. And when I did come back to drawing in my late 30s, I felt like I was starting from where I'd left off. I drew the same, if not slightly worse than I did when I was a kid. And at first I was super critical about everything that I was doing. It felt awkward, it just didn't feel natural. And because I didn't know any different, I just picked up from where I'd left off in high school, looking at instructional books and comics and doing exercises and drawing heads with lines through them and I don't know, all kinds of stuff. And I look back at those drawings now and I think, not so bad, really. In fact, maybe you're saying that to yourself. Your drawings were really pretty great when you started. You could draw really well. But I didn't think so at the time. And I know now that I still had a long way to go because I hadn't yet made the big discovery that changed everything. My focus was just on the drawing itself. Did it look like a real person? Were the proportions right? Did the likeness work? Is it just like the photo? I didn't really know what else to think about. Let me step back for a minute and tell you something else about myself. I've always loved books. I love to hold them. I love to read them. I love to look through them. I love magazines. I love zines. I love coffee table books. I love the composition. I love the graphic design, the typography, the illustration, the binding, the photography. I love the way that a page is laid out. I love the whole thing is just incredibly exciting to me. I love the way you can have a big headline right on top of a photograph, or you can have columns of type that become shapes of their own, the way you can have a little caption tucked underneath it that somehow changes the whole meaning of the photograph. I've always loved that stuff. It's beautiful to me. It's an art form. And then one day it occurred to me that my sketchbook is not just sketches. It's a book. And I could design it the same way. I could make it into a beautiful object. I could think about it the way you think about publishing a magazine, except it's a magazine that's just about me, about my life. And it only has one reader, me. A magazine with a circulation of 1. Oh, my head exploded because suddenly it wasn't all dependent on being able to draw incredibly well. Not every fantastic illustrator is necessarily a fantastic draftsman. They don't all draw photorealistically. There's so much design and style involved. It's not just technique. And now I could use other elements to surround my drawings. I could use my drawings as a part of telling a story about my day, about my life. I could have a headline. I could have a block of writing. I could have multiple drawings that had some relationship with each other. I could draw in little arrows and I could draw in captions and call outs. I could have empty space, but it would be there on purpose. White space that balanced the composition. The thing is, I'm not a graphic designer. I didn't go to design school. I just happen to love this stuff. And I happen to have opinions about it. I happen to have tastes. I happen to have likes and dislikes. I think about what one typeface means versus another. I think about where words should sit on the page. I think about what is too much. I think about the air in a composition, the kerning of the type, the spaces between the letters, whether the type should be rag right or justified. It was like I'd been trained to do all this stuff. And in a way, I had. Here's another thing you should know about me. I spent more than 30 years working in advertising, but I was a copywriter, not an art director. I wrote headlines and copy for all kinds of things, credit cards and computers and crayons and cheeseburgers. And the art part of it, the drawing part of it, the composition part of it even, that was theoretically somebody else's job. The art director, the designer, the illustrator, not the copywriter. But I sat in thousands of hours of meetings where people were discussing and falling on their swords about things that maybe most people don't really think much about. Whether the headline should sit at the top of the page or across the middle, whether it should go on top of the picture, whether the color of the type should match the color of the model's dress. All of these things. And we would argue, and I would be dragged into these conversations because I thought it was important and interesting too. The fonts that my words were in, they impacted the meaning of those words. And the headline that I wrote, well, it mattered how big it was. It mattered what typeface it was set in. Putting all those things together, that's what you do as a creative person in advertising. It's not just typing words on a piece of paper. It's putting an ad in a magazine. It's designing something that's going to go on a billboard by the highway. It's thinking about the design of a shot in a commercial. There are thousands and thousands of decisions that you make about every piece of communication, and I was in the middle of that all the time. That's just the way that I thought. But I also thought that was just my job. I thought, I'm not really a real writer. I'm not a novelist. I'm not really an artist. I'm doing this for clients, for banks and soft drink bottlers. And then there's this very high wall between what I'm doing at the office and what I could theoretically be doing as a creative person making my own art. What I didn't realize was that I was in school every day for all those years. I may not have gone to art school, but I was in an even more important creative school, and I didn't even really realize that I was enrolled in it. My sketchbook became a place to apply all of these incredible things that I'd been learning about. And once I noticed that, I started to realize that the school that I was in, the world of design, was everywhere. It was in the packages in my kitchen. It was in my bathroom. It was on the street, it was on TV, it was on my phone. It was everything, everywhere had been designed and conceived and composed and thought through by somebody. People had solved so many design problems in so many ways over so much time, and they were all there in public, so I could start stealing like an artist. Look at this magazine and see how it's composed. You've got a big picture. You've got these little small drawings with a little piece of text next to them. This could be a drawing. This could be a horizontal drawing. The whole thing is a pretty straightforward grid, but there's lots of variety. You could copy that with drawings. There's some similarities in the colors that ties the whole spread together. It's four different things, but they're united by this little headline here that says booths and the people who work in them. And the type is at a weird angle. This is at an angle. Oh, that's cool, a map. Then it has some lettering that's sitting actually behind the drawing. Writing is sitting on top of the picture, cut into each other and overlap each other. Hands looking through the view. You've got a big headline here. Here's a big headline. You've got a column of type, columns with an illustration. What was great about this discovery was that even mediocre kinds of drawings, when they're treated this way, they suddenly look an awful lot better. My pages started to look good years before my drawings deserved it. And this gave me cover in a way because my pages started to look pretty nice. I now have the time and the opportunity to continue working on my drawing ability within this context, kind of in the background. And this is really important because if you do drawings that you think are mediocre and you don't feel like you're making massive improvements, pretty soon you're going to give up. And it happened to me already. So you're not going to put in the effort, the practice that you need to improve. But if you can almost immediately transform that mediocre drawing into something pretty cool looking, something that encourages you to carry on, well, you're going to start making good looking pages. You're filling a sketchbook that other people might look at and say, well, that's amazing. You're really great at this. And of course, that's not the main point of doing this, but it's certainly a nice thing to have. So look at these two sketchbooks. This is my first one, and this is where I am today. Sure, my drawing skills have definitely gotten better, so has my ability to use color, but my composition still matters a great deal to me. The pages just got so much better because I started to think about composing them instead of just filling them. My drawings did get better, but that just took the years that it took. But my pages became worth keeping right around the moment that I started composing them instead of just filling them. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, good for you. I didn't work in an ad agency for 30 years. But the thing is, you also live in this world that's full of design. Every magazine that you open, every web page, everything around you is full of design. You can study it, but you've also absorbed an awful lot of it. And you just may not be aware of it, of what role it plays in your life. What you can do is to start by simply taking any one of these pages and copying it. Steal the design, steal it, see what a difference it makes. Look, your drawing skills are gonna improve over time, but your page design can improve overnight. And that's gonna give you the encouragement that you need to keep going. If you'd like to see 16 types of layouts that you can borrow from, watch this next video. I hope this helps to encourage you to make your sketchbook into a beautiful place, an encouraging place, a wonderful personal studio and gallery, which you can close the covers to and keep private, but you can also reopen anytime you want to inspire and delight yourself. Have fun making art.